Hey everyone, it's Amy here and welcome back to my channel. Today is going to be a first impressions and tutorial on a brand new palette that I have never tried before. And this is the holiday edition KYLIE KYSHADOW palette. I have resisted all of KYLIE cosmetic products up until this point. I never really wanted to try any of the liquid lipsticks and things like that, but then she started to come out with the makeup. And it's been pretty intriguing, but I just never have bit the bullet. The colors seemed like I had a lot of them already, so I was using that as an excuse. But when I saw this palette, I was like, nope, I can't hold out any longer. I have to have this because I've heard really good things about the palettes as well. So today is going to be a first impressions of it. Literally, I've never swatched it. I haven't worn it. We are going to put it on my eyes together and see what it's like as a first impressions for all of us. The reason being, there's like 3 or 4 palettes that I need to try out this week. There's no way I can give each of them a really good amount of time and trying them out to review them by next week. So I figured I'm going to do a first impressions like this on this palette, as well as I believe the Too Faced matte chocolate palette, the new little mini one that came out. Those will be first impressions, and then I'm going to dedicate my time the rest of this week trying out the white chocolate palette by Too Faced, and then I'll review that one next week, and then these will have a follow-up review to this one and the other palette in about a week and a half. So that's what I'm going to do. So here is what the palette looks like on the front. It has the teardrops like we've seen on the other palettes, except for this time it has the colors kind of indicative of this palette, which are these gorgeous shades right here. Like, you guys, like, isn't that so gorgeous? Oh my gosh. When I saw this palette, I was like, I have to have this. This is perfect for fall and winter and for the holidays. I just love these jewel tones. They are gorgeous. This kit does come with a mirror. I believe all the other KYSHADOW palettes have not come with a mirror before, so that's really cool. I can't remember the price right off the top of my head, so I will leave all that information down below. Like I said, this is just a first impression, so first impression is the packaging is super cute, being silver and just perfect for the holidays and adorable. On the back, it does tell you what the eyeshadow names are. It says KYLIE, and so I really like that. I do like that it comes with a mirror for, I believe, $42. That's what I'm thinking it was. And the shades are gorgeous. So let's go ahead and swatch some of them to see how they feel. I believe we have 1, 2, 3, 4 out of the 9 shades are matte. This is a matte, this is a matte, this is matte, and this is matte. And the rest are all going to be metallic shades. So we're going to go ahead and swatch this shade right here. This one is Sugar Cookie. It feels really silky and soft. It does create a little bit of kick up in the pan, but nothing too bad. And it's just a really pretty light creamy brown shade. And so that's the shade right there. If you can see it, it kind of blends in with my skin tone. So that may not be great for people with deeper skin tones than myself, but we shall see. So then this next one over here is called Chestnut. And this is really pretty. This is a brown with a little bit of like a purple undertone to it. That swatched so nicely. It feels so smooth, like really smooth. And I think this one's gonna be really easy to work with. The first one felt smooth. This one feels even silkier and smoother. So I'm gonna keep going with the matte shades. So I'm gonna move down here to these two. This one is called Evergreen, this green shade. Oh my gosh, like, look at this. Isn't that cool? And then this shade is Gingerbread, and this one's kind of a plummy purple shade. Look how pigmented that is. So there are the 4 matte shades. Evergreen does look like maybe it's a little patchy, but I only went 1 swipe over it, so now I'm gonna go a little bit more, and it seems to look a little bit better, but still like a tad bit patchy. So now let's go ahead and try out the gorgeous metallic shades, because that's really what got me with this palette, besides just the colors in general. But it was like the whole idea of these shades and metallic shades. I was like, these are just perfect for winter time. So moving on to this one is called Frosty. This is a really silky shade. So here's what it looks like right there. Really silky. When you have silvers like this, sometimes it's hard to get them really silvery and silky. I don't know why, but every silver shade I tend to have in palettes, they kind of feel a little bit grittier. But this is beyond smooth. Like, oh my gosh. And can you see that reflection? Wow. That is like super metallic. Like, I'm thinking of doing like a classic going out New Year's Eve kind of look down the line closer to New Year's Eve. I'm thinking I'm gonna have to use this shade in the tutorial because this is like a crazy metallic silver. So then this one right here is called Nutcracker. This is kind of a cranberry shade. Then we have Winter, which is this crazy blue shade. Like, look at that. Oh my gosh. Now, I will say this shade right here, Winter, does feel like a little bit drier than the silver shade did and this cranberry shade. So let's go ahead and see what they're like. So there we go. Those are so pretty. So pretty. I love this cranberry shade. And that blue shade is actually a lot more wearable than I was expecting. It's kind of like a blue with a purpley gray undertone. It's not like a cobalt type of blue or anything like that, which is kind of good, at least in my opinion. That makes it a little bit more wearable because I'm not super duper adventurous with my eyeshadows. Like, I wouldn't be wearing like a crazy bold eyeshadow probably, but this one I might be able to do. So then this next one is called Mittens. And this is a gorgeous purple. Like, I love purple, you guys. This is screaming my name. Along with this one. This is the one I have to use tonight because I can't pass up using kind of a neutral bronzy shade the first time I use a palette. So this one is called Silent Night. Oh my gosh. Do you see how metallic those are? Whew. This looks so pretty. Those are so silky. Again, with like the metallic-y finish. I don't know if they're different finishes. I'll know once I do the final review, but I don't know if some of them are kind of like satin and some are metallic, but to me it seems like the silver shade and this shade right here are a little bit more metallic and just really, really pack a punch. Like, even compared to that purple one, it just seems a lot more sparkly. So these look really, really pretty. Definitely gonna have to use that bronzy shade. So first impressions swatching them is they swatch really, really well. The only one that was kind of not as good was that evergreen shade. That's the only one that seemed a little patchy possibly. And then this shade right here, which was Winter in the middle, that one felt a little bit more dry compared to the rest of these metallic shades that felt really, really silky. But other than that, I thought like this one and this one were my two favorite matte shades in this palette. Those felt so good on the skin when I swatched them. And then this shade and this shade right here were my favorite metallic ones. Silver was amazing too though. So let's go ahead and do a little tutorial. That was swatching it. Let's see how it actually applies because that's the proof in the pudding. So I'm going to use this Zoeva 232 brush and I'm going to take the shade up here, that sugar cookie shade, and I'm going to use this as my all over base instead of a transition shade just because I'm only using this palette right now. Otherwise, I could go in with a different shade and use that as my first transition. But I'm going to use this as setting everything. Gives it a nice little, a little bit of color. Like, it's a little bit deeper than my flesh color. But I still don't know on anyone with deeper skin tones if it's really going to show up that well. So for me, it still shows up a little. But even as a transition shade, I'm not sure if it would work. So going on now, we're going to take this shade right here, which was Chestnut, and I'm going to use that as my transition shade with the Morphe 433 brush. So let's see, when I pick it up on my brush, I see a lot of pigment there. So let's go ahead and work this into the crease. This looks like a really nice shade. This looks like a really pretty fall crease color. It has a little bit of a purple undertone, a very, very cool undertone. Like, these shades, all of them in here are very, very cool tone, if I didn't mention that already. Whereas her last palette that came out, that burgundy one, that was a very, very warm palette. So I tend to like cool tones, so like this tone of this transition shade just speaks to me. So there is what those two colors look like right now. I really like those. Like, that is pretty in itself. If you wanted to just do those two colors and mascara on a really easy work day, you definitely could. So now I'm gonna go in with that metallic shade that I was obsessed with. This one is called Silent Night. Yes, I love this shade. This is Morphe S30. It's kind of a flat shader brush. That's what I'm going to use to pick it up. It seems to pick up really, really easily on the brush. Sometimes you never know. It may be really pretty in the pan, but the brush doesn't pick it up and you have to use your finger. This definitely looks like it picks up with the brush pretty well. So let's see. Oh, by the way, no fallout from those other matte shades at the moment. Ooh. Okay, so this looks like you can definitely use it with a brush. You don't have to use a finger if you don't want to. You definitely can pick some of the pigment up really easily. So let's keep going. I want to pack this on. I'm going to get a little closer, you guys, so you guys can see. This is such a pretty shade. And it packed on the lid so easily. Can you guys see how metallic that is? This is so silky and smooth. I can't even imagine too if you were to use MAC Fix Plus, like it would be on steroids probably, this eyeshadow. So really pretty. So let's go ahead and blend some colors into the crease. I'm going to pack like quite a bit of colors. I'm going to use more of this dense brush. This is the Morphe E18, and I'm going to take that purple shade Gingerbread and work that into the crease. So let's see a dark shade, how it works, which it's picking up on the brush really nicely. And then I'm just going to pack this, wow, that packs a lot of pigment. I'm going to pack this in this inner corner and bring it about halfway. That has a lot of pigment in it. Okay. It deposits it on your eye really easily. I like to use this kind of a brush just to start getting the pigment on the eye, and then I will go back in and blend it out. So now that I have it on, I'm going to go back in with that transition shade we used just to help blend everything out. And we're going to blend now. Okay, now I find that it's not blending out quite as easily now that I put the color down. So we'll see how the other side goes. It is a pretty color. It kind of turns a little bit of a bluish hue when I use that purple shade. So now let's go on the other side. I'm not going to pack it as intensely. I'm going to use more on this brush as well. Picks up a lot of product. Okay, this side definitely blends out easier, so it does not work as well with a very, very dense brush like I used. Let me show you. So that's the brush I had originally used. That might be too dense that wherever you stick it, it's going to stay. This side definitely is blending out a lot better when I went very minimally with that dense brush and used more of a fluffy brush. So let me go on this side and see if I can fix it a little. Yeah, that seems to have fixed it. So these definitely seem like they blend out a little better when you use fluffier brushes than really dense brushes. I'm also going to go back in with those two shades we went in with in the beginning and just kind of blend everything out on the edge, so we don't have any sharp lines. So now, just for fun, I'm going to take that evergreen shade, that green shade, I'm going to use that on the lower lash line. That looks really nice. That actually was really easy. So this is a MAC 212 brush, by the way. This is the Crown C513. I'm going to go back in with this shade up here, that transition shade, and I'm going to just kind of smoke it out down here. I really like this shade. Alright, so here is the finished look using this palette. To recap, I used this shade right here. That was really easy and nice to use. I think you could use it as a transition shade if you're fairer than I am. For me, I still might be able to get away with it. It was like one notch darker than my skin tone, but even as a setting powder, it was really nice. This shade is really nice. This one was Chestnut. I used this as my transition shade. I think this will work up until about medium skin tones. If you have really, really deep skin tones, I'm not sure if this will really show up as this true color, or if it'll just create just ever so slightly a little bit of shadow. So I'm not really sure how well these two shades will work for everyone's skin tones. I think the rest of the shades in the palette though will work. So those were the two first shades I used. Went in with this one all over the lid. As you guys can see, it is absolutely stunning, easy to use. You definitely can get the same result using a brush that you could with some eyeshadows that you have to use your finger. So really impressed with this formula, the fact that I could use a brush with it and it looks this metallic. And I'm sure it could even look more metallic if you used Fix Plus. I'll definitely have to try that out. So really impressed by that. This shade right here, Definitely use a fluffier brush with it. It worked really well to blend out, but with more of a dense brush, kind of where you set it is where it was going to stay. So that one was still really, really pigmented, but could be a little hard to blend out depending on which kind of tool you're using. Then I did use this on the lower lash line. It seemed like it was really easy. That was the one, if you remember when I was swatching, seemed like it could be potentially really patchy. So we'll see when I use that more of a crease shade. But the little bit I use it concentrated underneath, it did work really well. So first impressions overall of this palette is that it's actually really good and I'm really impressed. This is the first Kylie Cosmetics product I've ever tried, much less her palettes. Overall, this palette seems really, really promising. So I hope you guys enjoyed this first impressions and tutorial using the new Kylie Holiday Edition KYSHADOW palette. If you did, give this video a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe so you can stay tuned to all my upcoming videos, and I will see you guys very soon. Bye!